And there's plenty that we love to hear from James Ashby and Linda Scott. Each and every Tuesday night, they agree on everything. How good's the background there? Both the Australian flag and the man cave, you're both doing excellent. All right, so let's talk about what's happening tonight in Bankstown here. Now, again, do people have the right to protest? Yes. Does free speech mean you're able to say whatever you want? Sure. But it also means there's consequences, right? So one of the things being said tonight was what we showed you in the editorial. For those joining for whatever reason, here's what was being said tonight. Now, remember, October the 7th, we all know what this day is about. So in my view, pretty obvious to see what the connection is here too and about how provocative it is to be doing this tonight. But have a look.
One day, we will see Zionism in its entirety to be known like the Nazi regime that came before us.
Now, guys, we're on telly, we're not on the internet, which means we have to pump the brakes a little bit about how some people's emotions may be into this. And I'm not saying that about both of you. I'm saying to many people watching us at home right now. Now, look, I understand why there are people who want to protest the response to the events of October the 7th. I understand, right, for obvious reasons. We've all seen the pictures. But on this particular night, how can you not think of it as something provocative, James?
It sends a really bad signal, doesn't it? Worldwide, these images are going out. It's not just here in Australia. We have to sit back and watch this. But, you know, Sydney and Melbourne in particular have been attacked by these protesters week in, week out. And people have had a gutful. Yeah, when you have a look at Sydney, they get just under 15 million visitors every single year. We don't want to see them at the Opera House. 2 million visitors just come to have a look at the Opera House. I don't want to see them there. 160,000 people a day use the bridge. I don't want to see them on that. I don't want to see them in suburbs, whether it be Bankstown or anywhere else either. These people clearly haven't heard the news that there's a peace deal underway. I just think it really shows their ignorance. I don't think they realise, or maybe they do. Maybe their ignorance is deliberate because you know, they've got a different agenda. But at the end of the day, we know what happened this day 2 years ago, and it was just horrific what happened to the people of Israel. They've got no heart.
Now, it's this thing where, Linda, again, we've seen that there are 90,000 people that were willing to cross the bridge. My position was, if the Premier says no and the police say no, that at some point that leadership has to be taken into account as a reason why that thing shouldn't happen. Obviously, the Opera House on the 12th, again, a pretty provocative place because we know what the protests were in response to the actions of Hamas on October the 7th and how that played out here when there was an attempt to memorialise on the behalf of the Jewish community on October the 8th. So again, I don't want to be even-handed. I want to be annoyed about what I'm seeing tonight, but I also don't want to be insulting, and nobody is in this conversation, but equally, pick your times. And I just say tonight, October the 7th, how can it not be some sort of an attempt by some of the people there at rubbing your nose in?
Look, I just think that so many people are hurting, Paul, and, you know, my love and heart goes out to them all. It's a horrific anniversary today. I spoke to many people today in Sydney about how much they were hurting, actually just incidentally on my way through my day in meetings and seeing people. Many people spoke to me today in Sydney about how much they were hurting. Obviously, in the Jewish community, you know, the thought of the hostages that remain held, the thought of the 250 hostages that were taken, the thought of the more than 1,200 people who were killed as part of the attack 2 years ago today. And then obviously from the Palestinian communities, the UN recently labelling what has happened there a genocide where more than 60,000 people have been killed. There are a lot of communities hurting around the world and in Australia today, and my heart and my love goes out to them.
And I understand the love. I'm just saying it's just about, and part of being this far away is understanding what certain days and dates and all the rest of it means, right? And I understand all of the hurt, and because it is not of my flock, you know, obviously I'm able to sit here with some level of distance. But it's pretty obvious what today is, though. I'm not talking about tomorrow. I'm not talking about yesterday. I'm talking
deliberately
about
provocative
today. Yeah. All right. Look, I want to move on, but I do want to remind you though that tomorrow night, special bit of television is going to be here. In fact, it'll bleed into about 10 minutes into our show tomorrow night. So it's going to be a big special presentation, which is, don't forget to see a special documentary investigating the rise of anti-Semitism here on Sky News Australia tomorrow night from 7:30 till just after we normally start at 9 o'clock. That's October 8. This is a special bit of TV. I was watching it this afternoon. Unbelievable. It's right here on Sky News. Tomorrow night, 7:30. We'll talk about it after tomorrow night. Now,